scheme to frustrate members of parliament. You remember, Honorable Speaker, and Mheshimiwa Mnyilanya is very much aware that actually this project for Busia was launched in his constituency by the president. And I think it must have been there, was it 2023 or somewhere around there? Honorable Speaker, in my constituency, had about 27 projects. Since then, I've only accomplished 2. It's an embarrassing situation. And then when we say that the government is inefficient, people think we are talking out of nothing. It's practically every Kenyan can see. How can it take more than 2 years to just complete a small project? How inefficient can a government be? Can we make efforts to make sure this work is completed so that if there is any trace of respectability about this government, we can talk about it? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Finally, let's hear Honorable there. And then we shall hear Wakili and we conclude with Wakili. Take 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to ride on what my colleagues have just discussed. Mr. Speaker, in my constituency, Igembe Central, we have anti-poles, some erected, some lying on the roads for the last 3.5 years. And Mr. Speaker, whenever we try to talk to the contractor and the KPLC, they are always giving framed reasons. Last time, they were saying they have imported some cables and other electrical materials, and they have not been exempted from taxes. Mr. Speaker, I think KPLC, they have to come to their, to do what they are supposed to be doing. And I also implore on the Committee on Energy to move fast, because now they are shaming the government. The president comes, declares that I've given this constituency 500 million for electricity, then nothing is happening. We only see the poles, and the community and the people, the supposed users, are just wondering, are we going to be using the poles as electricity? So, Mr. Speaker, it's really embarrassing, and KPLC should wake up.
Very well. And finally, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
No. We were to give Honorable...
somebody that side.
Yes. Yes. Gishimu. I know you're a senior counsel, but this time it was for Gishimu. Gishimu, proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I must thank this government for being deliberate to connect as many people in this country with power. But I think what is lacking is the capacity on the contractors that are being given this work. Because money from the One Bank is there for maximization and last mile connectivity. But you find that the contractors that were given this work are dilly-dallying in implementing what the government means well for the Kenyans. And I believe that is an area we need to check. And I agree with my honorable colleague who has said, we need to have the minister and the CEO implementing the last mile connectivity in this country to come for a Kamukunji in this house. Because I believe money is there, but the implementing agency is going slow. And I believe, like in my constituency, because I'm also speaking for my constituency, I have 8 projects which are just lying, no pole deliveries, no connectivity, though I've been able to connect about 3 or 4. The others, like Emmanuel, Mushongwa, Karido, Gadiro, and Kebore are still lying. And I believe this is an area that requires a lot of intervention and urgency.
Honorable Martha, 1 minute.
Thank you, Speaker, for your indulgence. And I want to ride on what other members have said, and I support Honorable Gishimu. There is this thing, Mr. Speaker, that the REREC team comes to the ground, does design, requests for paperwork, so they create hope that electricity is coming. Then when it is actually done, Mr. Speaker, they only say out of 100 people that they are going to do 30. Some of these REREC schemes, Mr. Speaker, like I have one in my constituency called Gatondo, they have waited for meters for 2 years, Mr. Speaker. And recently the PS came to my constituency and announced another. And Mr. Speaker, that puts us in a very bad situation because we look like we are lying, yet we are not the ones doing the implementation. Sending this team, they only should do that when the money is there and when they are assured that this will be done and done in good time.
Finally, Senior Counsel.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I think we should call to order Kenya Power and RELEC, because we may say that the government is inefficient when actually we know for sure that these responsibilities are delegated to RELEC and Kenya Power. And that this is exactly where the problem is, because when they give hope to citizens, then it fade away. Sincerely, that cannot be service delivery, and those CEOs and whoever is in charge should be called to book. And where there is a problem, they should either be told to rectify it, or eventually they should actually be shown the door. Because the reason we say this, everywhere in the country there is a hue and cry of electricity supply. We cannot bury our heads anymore. We know the budget is just about to be released by Treasury, and we must see RELEC and the Kenya Power all over the country supplying citizens with power, Tharaka constituency included. Thank you very much.
I think it has been flogged enough. Honorable Mulanya, I'll be speaking to you over this matter in a few, Leader. In fact,
Thank
the
you,
whole
Honorable.
matter is coming back to you.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I have not the concern raised by my colleagues on the issue. And first, in response to the issue raised by Honorable Shinali, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Member acknowledged that the payments were made in 2 installments, and actually admits that the first payment of 765,884 was made on 9th March 2022, and the second installment of 1,001,000 was made in May 2026. This was made outside the contractual period of 90 days, and that's why Kenya Power had revised now the quotation from the initial amount of 1.7 million now to the sum of 1.8 million. So therefore requiring the agency to, the customer to top up a further sum of 149,043 shillings. That is the position. So if there are any other issues, perhaps we'll follow up on the issue with the Kenya Power so that we give the accurate position to the Honorable Member. On the other issues raised by my colleagues, Honorable Speaker.
And they're overwhelming, yes.
Pardon?
There are many issues.
Yeah, there are many issues.
What
That's
do you
why I was
say?
saying
What do you
that
say
on
on
the
that?
issue of delayed, actually this is the issue raised by the Honorable Maungu, Honorable Hillary, and Honorable Undo, and Honorable Karidho, and even Honorable Gashumo are related to the EFDB2 project. Honorable Speaker, this is an issue that we raised last week with the PS Energy, together with the CEO, Kenya Power, on why these particular projects were delayed. It's not true, as my Honorable Oundo put it, that the project were launched by the President in my constituency in the year 2023. It was actually launched in the year 2025. The true position is that the Kenya Power were experiencing problem with the donor funding element. The donors initially required that all invoices by the contractor be approved outside Kenya, which was in France, and that issue was resolved early this year. Now, the other issue that now was reported to the committee this last week when they had the last meeting was that the contractor was experiencing problem with the supply of electricity poles. We advised the PS to liaise with the Minister for Energy so that the contractor, in terms of contracting for the poles and materials required for this particular project, can be expedited so that this project can be completed. We are expecting a report this week to the committee, so I'm not in a position to give a proper response at this particular moment, because even as a committee, we are concerned about this delay and we are waiting for the response. On the issue raised by the Honorable Wangari on surveys by REREC, we have taken note of the same, and as a committee we'll follow up so that with the REREC so that we can have these particular services done properly. Thank you,
Very
Honorable
well.
Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Shinali. We really must execute and complete this business.
Honorable Speaker, I'm totally disagreeing with Honorable Mulanya. I was very clear. Honorable Mulanya is giving misleading information. MCEWA issued with a first invoice of 765. They paid. By the time they paid, again, a review was done. A top-up of another 1 million. They paid. And now there is also a review.
He's saying it was outside the contractual period.
No, that is
Now
not
I'm
true.
also following.
That is not true.
Proceed.
Honorable Speaker, you cannot pay less the amount of the invoice to Kenya Power. They'll always ask you to pay in full the invoice. I request Honorable Mulanya to get accurate information because he's giving this information to Kenyans. And somehow when Kenyans see this information and they know what they are doing, they know what has happened, Honorable Mulanya, it's second like members of parliament or this house is giving information which is not true.
Very well. Leader, are you still there? You wanted to speak to this?
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, the issue of electricity connections and power supply are very key, very crucial, because they take us to Singapore. You know, if we must walk on that path, on that road, drive in that airspace to Singapore, then one of the drivers that we must have is electricity connection and supply. Now we have two fundamental organs, that is REREC and Kenya Power, that are supposed to help us achieve this milestone. But what I see from both REREC and Kenya Power is a lot of inefficiency. And a lot of, because KPLC should be driven by business, because it's now a private enterprise. And every business enterprise is looking at profit. Now, profit does not come if you don't have customers. It is customers that give you money and you make profit. Now, Kenya Power is letting this country down, both the country and themselves, because if they're not connecting, if connections have been done by REREC and they're not providing meters, how then are they expected to make money? Enough money even to give a check to Exchequer, to pay their salaries for their workers and everyone. So I think we probably have the wrong people at Kenya Power that are letting us down, that are letting even the business down. Because you cannot be MD of Kenya Power who is not driven by profit. And profits can only come when we have enough connections. In fact, what I envisage is that Kenya Power should be pushing REREC to ensure all these social power projects are implemented so that they get more customers. But if they don't do that, then I don't understand which business school they went to. I don't. I really don't understand. Because this country must move forward, but Kenya Power must also move forward. Actually, energy companies in this world make more profit than even telcos. But what is happening at Kenya Power, the telcos are making more profit than energy companies, Honorable Speaker. So we would like to tell Kenya Power from the floor of this house, pull up your socks. Pull up your socks. Pull up your socks. Because that's what you need to do, so that Kenyans get the advantage of having electricity. So that when we are talking about Kenya beyond Vision 2030, we are talking about power connections. That's what we need. This country should not have even one village, one house, not having power. At this level of development and this level of this country's development, we should not. But REREC also needs to have more innovative ways of raising funds. They should not just sit to wait for Exchequer. REREC should not just sit and say, tell an MP, look, we don't have enough money and therefore we cannot connect. Why are you there? Why are you there? You are formed to ensure that you do the right things, including looking for innovative ways of getting money to connect homes. Honorable Speaker, the people of Kilifi North always ask me, when are we getting power? I am in government. And I am happy being in government, Honorable Speaker. But REREC should not let down. They have a mission. They have a mandate. And they should not just sit back. Supposing Exchequer doesn't give them money, will they shut up the company? Or they just be receiving salaries? Honorable Speaker, REREC must do their job, the job for which they were created. If they don't, they should ship out. I thank you.
But I think you should have extended this beyond just lamentation, because I gave you this last chance as leader. And as leader, then we must interrogate. And therefore, I'm now instructing that your office, yes, because that lamentation is everywhere. You can see Macau is on his floor. Everyone wants to speak on Kenya Power. Members, do specific questions between now and the time when we are asking the leader to call the CEO and PS of energy in the House. So, and REREC equally, so that members can deal with this. This matter is really concerning every member. Macau, you may take a seat, I know. And I'm intervening in a way that will help you. So do questions, and in the next 2 weeks, that means next 2 weeks, the following Wednesday, bring to the House the CS Energy and the PS Energy and REREC CEO. Because this is very important also for not just Kenyans, but for members. Because this is a business, core business of these members of the House. Yes?
PS Energy. The CS Energy accompanied by the PS and the two CEOs.
Very well.
Thank you.
We raise the matter there. Thank you, honorable members, so that we may proceed. Macau, what is it? Give Macau, we hear him, but we have closed that matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, anytime you see members from both sides of this House concerned, it is a matter that is affecting Kenyans.
Sure.
One thing I want to commend the Deputy Leader of my majority is that it is true. When you look at how Kenya Power is conducting its business and RELEC, then it leaves a lot to be admired. And I am so happy to hear him say he finds it very difficult to explain to his people what is happening despite him being in the government. One, Mr. Speaker, when the CS and the PS comes to this House, we must now, as a House, align budget of one, we even begin with Ketraco, the transmission of that power, then how it goes to RELEC, then how Kenya Power comes in. And Mr. Speaker, in fact, I feel very embarrassed by Kenya Power. They are totally confused. Even right now, they don't know regions. I have seen them in Joska. Joska is in Mavoko. And before, Kenya Power used to control Joska from Ruai, which is Nairobi. Now they transferred those functions to Tala office. Then the same people from Kenya Power are going to Joska and its environs are telling them they stole meters from Nairobi. Yet they're the ones who fixed them, they are the ones who sold to them, and they are now disconnecting homes because of their inefficiency. So, Mr. Speaker, I agree with you totally. We need to call the CAs here and the PS and let them tell us how much money they are allocating to those two power agencies, RELEC and Kenya Power.
Very well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Very well, members. Don't let yourselves down, and please document what you are now telling me, so that on that day, these comes as specific questions about your constituencies. I'm also affected. I'll be doing the same. Let's move to the next response, and this one is on registration of community groups and community-based organizations by Honorable Joyce Kamene. This is the chair, social protection. Are you in the house? And is
Yes.
Honorable Joyce in the house? Joyce Kamene, she's in the house, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. The Honorable Joyce Kamene, MP for Machakos County on 17th of June 2026, requested for a statement on the floor of the House regarding registration of community-based organizations. Honorable Speaker, on the steps being taken by the ministry to ensure implementation of a user-friendly platform to streamline the registration process for community-based organizations, popularly known as CBOs, Mr. Speaker, the State Department for Social Protection and Senior Citizens Affairs, through its Directorate of Social Development, is mandated to register community groups and community-based organizations as per the Kenya Groups Registration Act Cap 108A of the laws of Kenya. Pursuant to Executive Order number 1 of 2025 and the Government Directive on Digitization of Public Services and mandatory use of e-citizen platform for the government fees and charges, the Directorate operationalized the Community Development Management Information System, CDMIS, as the official platform for registration, management, and oversight of community-based organizations. The CDMIS is integrated with the e-citizen to support online application submission, electronic payment, document verification, and approval processes, Mr. Speaker. However, the system is not yet fully end-to-end, as issuance and collection of registration certificates is still done physically or manually. Despite this, the digitized process have significantly reduced manual handling, improved processing efficiency, and enhanced transparency and accountability. In addition, Mr. Speaker, the State Department has diversified service delivery channels through Huduma centers, where applicants may now apply for registration and collect registration certificates near home. This decentralization of services points have improved accessibility, reduced travel costs for applicants, and brought services closer to communities across the country, Mr. Speaker. To improve usability, the State Department continues to refine the system through simplification of application workflows, reduction of unnecessary data entry requirements, and enhancement of user interface to make it more accessible to users with varying levels of digital literacy. The system is also being strengthened through ongoing enhancements focused on stability, cybersecurity, data integrity, and interoperability with other government systems to ensure reliable and secure service delivery. Overall, Mr. Speaker, the implementation of CDMIS, supported by e-citizen integration and continuous system improvements, has enhanced efficiency, accessibility, and transparency in the CBO registration process. Honorable Speaker, on whether the ministry has undertaken a review of registration process and related costs to ensure efficiency in delivering service to low-income communities and vulnerable populations, Mr. Speaker, the Directorate of Social Development undertook a nationwide public participation during the development of the regulations to Community Groups Registration Act, Capo 8A, the draft Community Groups Regulations, Mr. Speaker. A regulatory impact assessment was also conducted and a statement prepared, since it was noted that provisions of the Act relating to registration of groups would impose significant costs on the community, Mr. Speaker. During this process, stakeholders raised concerns relating to registration requirements, administrative procedures, and the prescribed fees. These views were systematically collected, consolidated, and considered in the review and refinement of the draft regulations to ensure that they are responsive to the needs of community groups, particularly low-income and vulnerable populations, Mr. Speaker. Feedback received from stakeholders and members of the public directly informed the ongoing policy and regulatory review process, with a focus on enhancing registration framework, with a focus on enhancing efficiency, reducing administrative burdens, and ensuring that the registration framework remains inclusive and accessible to all categories of community organizations, Mr. Speaker. The draft regulations have since been finalized and are currently before the Office of the Attorney General for processing prior to publication and eventual submission to Parliament for placement before the Chepkonga-led Committee on Delegated Legislation for approval, Mr. Speaker. This stage is intended to assure legal conformity, policy coherence, and alignment with the broader government framework governing community development structures. Mr. Speaker, the registration fees prescribed in the schedule to the draft regulations are as follows, Mr. Speaker, and it is important for me to mention. For community-based organizations, registration costs will be 5,000 shillings, renewal 500, and replacements 2,500. For self-help groups, Mr. Speaker, registration will be 1,000, renewal 300, and replacement 500. Community project will cost 1,000 to register, Kenya shilling 200 for renewal, and Kenya shillings 500 for replacement, Mr. Speaker. To conduct a name search, for all community groups, the cost is set at 100 shillings per application, which cuts across even the business registration, Mr. Speaker. These proposed fees were determined through review process during the regulatory impact assessment in order to balance affordability for community groups with the need to sustain administrative regulatory functions of the State Department. Mr. Speaker, it is important to note that all payments are made electronically through the eCitizen platform in line with government policy on cashless service delivery. Mr. Speaker, this has enhanced transparency, reduced leakages, and improved efficiency in revenue collection and service delivery. Overall, the review, the review process, Mr. Speaker, has been structured to ensure that the registration framework.
Chairman, you know, when a member rises on a point of order, and me being a seasoned moderator, let's hear what is really out of order.
Mr. Speaker, I have a lot of respect for the Honorable Chairman. Honorable Mutai is the only person who is guaranteed to have a seat here next year. Mr. Speaker, we have just discussed about Kenya Power, the connectivity. Mr. Speaker, there are CBOs back in your constituency who cannot access to a cyber, who cannot access to power. How can these CBOs apply or pay electronically, Mr. Speaker?
You are out of order. You are completely out of order. And being a seasoned member of the House, and especially when I'm seated here and you rise on a point of order, I give you the seriousness with which it deserves. You know the real time when you would have rose to speak to this. And indeed, I would have still given you the time. Proceed, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for protecting me from my friend Macau. He should have given me the benefit of finishing the response so that he can interrogate after the questioner, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Overall, the review process has been structured to ensure that the registration framework conducted in line with the provisions of the Community Groups Registration Act Cap 108A is efficient, transparent, and responsive to the needs of low-income and vulnerable communities while maintaining accountability, sustainability in service provision. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Speaker, measures put in place to ensure...
You need to summarize.
I'm finishing up, Mr. Speaker. To ensure that we support vulnerable groups to facilitate formal recognition without penalties on compliance. Mr. Speaker, you will allow me this because I think it was the core of Mheshimiwa Kamene. The State Department has undertaken structured capacity building for sub-county social development officers on the use of administration of the Community Development Management Information Systems. This is aimed at strengthening front-line support to community groups, particularly vulnerable and marginalized populations. At the community level, sub-county officers provide direct assistance to groups with limited digital literacy, Mr. Speaker, or inadequate access to ICT resources, Mr. Speaker. This ensures that the vulnerable groups are not excluded from registration due to technical or capacity-related constraints. These measures are complemented by targeted sensitization awareness, creation initiatives to ensure understanding of registration requirements and procedures. Collectively, Mr. Speaker, they are intended to promote facilitated compliance and ensure that community groups achieve formal recognition without undue penalties arising from capacity limitations. Honorable Speaker, I submit.
The Honorable Kamene. Joyce Kamene, MP.
Mr. Speaker, indeed, I've heard the reply, but I'm not satisfied at all. First, Mr. Speaker, when you look at the charges that he's talking about that have been spelled out, that this is not what is in the ground. I can tell you for sure, last month, I was with them registering, and these are the fees that you were given: 5,550 for the e-citizen, 2,000 for updating the system, 1,000 certificate of training for the groups, 200 for printing of certificate. So when you stand here and say that they only pay 5,000, I wonder which is this you're talking about. And as we know, these are vulnerable women who are trying at least to come together and start off their small projects that will empower them. And for them to be recognized, we need to give them at least some special prizes. If it is 5,000, let it be 5,000. Don't bring in these added fees that do not even appear here. And when you talk of them being an e-citizen, I ask myself, women in Lungulweni, to get to the e-citizen, surely, where will they get these services? There are so many areas in Kidukini. I've been there and they keep asking the same question. Why can't these systems be improved? At least, yes, I know you're trying to improve them, but a lot has to be done. And please, can you find out very well, what are these charges? Because what you've told us is not what exactly. There's a big difference between 8,250 and 5,000. Please, let's protect our women, because we need them to come together to start these activities so that they can support themselves from the grassroots. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Macau.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm sorry for not following the flow of the debate, but however, it really hurt me, and I thought the memory of how Kenya Power has disadvantaged Kenyans really drove me to ask that question. However, my proposal to this chairman will be, for example, because now we realize it is not possible and easy for all CBOs or CBO members who will wish to apply or even be registered or renew, they don't have the luxury of doing the same because of being disadvantaged by that connectivity, both of internet and power. I am requesting my good friend to request the ministry and the relevant authorities that are charged with that function, that even some of the forms could be distributed through the county MPs or even through the administration. You know, the assistant chiefs, the chiefs, we have those forms so that they can apply through them, and then they reach the relevant offices so that Kenyans can benefit from wherever they are, however local, however, interior they are. So, Mr. Chairman, I think we need to promote our groups, and if we have to realize the dream of going to Singapore, it begins from us empowering these women and the youth of this country. I thank you, Speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also appreciate the social fiber that these self-help groups usually provide at the local level. and they need to be supported. And the regulations that I must comment that the ministry is working on the regulations. And because the committee where I sit, chaired by Honorable Chepkonga, is an adversarial committee, it can only consider what has been brought before the committee. I request that the chair, the committee fast track and oversight the ministry to bring the regulations, and we'll be able to consider them. I'm happy also Honorable Joyce Kamene, the one who sought for the statement, also sits in that committee, and we'll be able to consider and make sure that the groups pay a reasonable amount, which is not exorbitant, for them to be able to operate. Thank you.
Honorable Mtunga.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Speaker, I would like to add my voice to the issue of formed groups or forming groups and the way they are handled by the offices, especially the Office of the Social Development. Honorable Speaker, we have decrees that indicate the number of people who should even join these groups. And sometimes it is difficult to share benefits, especially when you look at the devolved funds, or rather the declared funds like the Women Enterprise Development Fund, the Youth Enterprise, and so on. It is very little. Sometimes 100,000 shillings for 30 people, it takes, it is very little when divided. It is good for the regulations to capture the numbers in terms, by way of inducing. There is nothing wrong with having a group of 5 if they can agree to do the work, so that at least when they share this money, it makes sense. The other issue, Honorable Speaker, is a turnaround time. Sometimes women groups are delayed at these offices because of a signature, for instance, of a person who is not present, or because the officer is not in the office, and it takes months before they keep on going there. It is important for officers in the offices to realize that people are wasting time to go to these offices. I've had cases in my constituency where officers have deliberately delayed women groups from progressing because they are not available, and it is not right. So it's good to be sympathetic to them. Payments aside, they also need to be proactive and responsive to the women groups.
Chair, and as you answer, this was a very good question from Honorable Joyce Kamene, because even in our areas, we don't hear of 5,000, we hear of 7,000. You could also speak to how will it be transmitted back to the constituencies and the lowest level, that those are the costs that should be charged. Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the passion of the Honorable Joyce Kamene, because like all of us, Mr. Speaker, we understand that women and all these vulnerable community members are the foundation and engines of economic development at the grassroots level. Mr. Speaker, the charges that I was attributing to are not the charges that the Honorable Joyce Kamene is talking about. I am talking about the charges that have been proposed in the regulations. So what I was reading, Mr. Speaker, could be different from what Honorable Joyce Kamene is saying, because these regulations are yet to come into force. They are currently at the Attorney General's office for processing and then for transmission to Parliament. So when those regulations come to the floor of the House, Mr. Speaker, and they are processed by the delegated committee, this will be the official fees that will be then posted across the country, and to remove the brokers who overcharge 8,000, Mr. Speaker. The regulations are intended to clean that space and that mess, Mr. Speaker, where the dubious charges which cannot be accounted for were springing from all corners of the country, Mr. Speaker. And I also want to agree with Honorable Macau, because this thing is connected to power, because power carries the fiber optic. So if we do not take deliberate action to make power available in all corners, this thing will be a deferred dream. And secondly, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of the presence, every so often, Mr. Speaker, we come before the Budget Committee for enhanced resources to make sure that we have sub-county social development officers in every constituency. But Mr. Speaker, this House, because you know the priorities are going to roads, brick and mortar, while leaving the real engine that is supposed to transform. This sector has always been left. So, Mr. Speaker, you will help us so that when we bring a request to this House that we need to enhance the officials on the ground so that the accelerated activity reaches the most targeted. Mr. Speaker, resources are availed so that we do that. Otherwise, from the ministry perspective, I want to confirm to this House that the ministry is committed to making sure that these processes are available at every remote village in this republic, Mr. Speaker. I thank you.
As we raise the matter, I would want to indulge Honorable Millie Odhiambo. Honorable Millie, because you sit in the House Business Committee, and there's this regulation that is lying at the Attorney General's office on the fees to be charged for registration of all these community groups. If you could please raise it at the House Business Committee so that it can be undertaken by the Speaker, because these will really help many people. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'll take it up.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 16, Committee of the Whole House.
Order, honorable members. We are now in the Committee of the Whole for the Public Participation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 44 of 2025.
Clause 3.
I propose the question that clause 3 be part of the bill. There is a proposed amendment. Chair Jailak.
It's wrong. Yes, we have it. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, I beg to move that clause 3 be amended as shown on the order paper. We're just making a slight typo to add Article 174C, which provides for public participation as one of the objects of devolution, purely to add an article that has been left out. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Very well. I propose the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed by the chair. If you intend to speak on this, kindly use the intervention. I now put the question that clause 3 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 3 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 4 and 5.
These have no amendments. Honorable members, I propose the question that clauses 4 and 5 be part of the bill. I now put the question that clauses 4 and 5 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 6.
I propose the question that clause 6 be part of the bill. Chair Jailak.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I beg to move that clause 6 be amended as shown on the order paper with a slight re-amendment which appears as clause 6D. And what we propose to do here is to have it state as follows. In the case of the judiciary, the courts established under Article 162 of the Constitution, and the justification is that while we have given institutions to be responsible for public participation, there was a proposal that the CRJ be responsible for the judiciary, but we feel that because we have removed the other CEOs, so that it remains forever, that it's the institution that is responsible for public participation. For the case of the judiciary, we must also bring it under all the courts established under Article 162 of the Constitution. I beg to move.
Very well. I propose the question that Clause 6 be amended as proposed by the Chair. I now put the question that Clause 6 be amended as proposed by the Chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that Clause 6 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 7.
I propose the question that Clause 7 be part of the bill. I now put the question that Clause 7 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, before the next clause, allow me to recognize in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon Kipsingei Secondary School from Sotik constituency, Bomet County, and in the public gallery, Elimu Academy from Nyari Barichache, Kisii County. You are welcome to observe the proceedings of the House. And honorable members, on Clause 6, the proposal of amendment by the Leader of Majority was automatically dropped because it was very similar to the Chair's amendment.
Clause 8.
I propose the question that Clause 8 be part of the bill. There is a proposed amendment, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I do move that Clause 8 be amended as is shown on the order paper. We are introducing subclause 1, which reads that a responsible authority shall be for undertaking a public participation exercise. Give reasonable notice to the public. The justification to this is that we must provide for a reasonable notice, which is determined by the nature of the matter under consideration, the importance of the matter under consideration, the impact of the matter under consideration, and any constitutional or statutory timelines. This is why we call it reasonable, so that it varies from one matter to another matter, depending on whether there are timelines or depending on what is reasonable in the circumstances considering the matter in issue. Thank you.
I propose the question that Clause 8 be amended as proposed by the Chair. Oundo.
Chair, I like the amendments, so to speak, but I'm just apprehensive by just using the word reasonable notice. You leave room for discretion, you leave room for a mischief, and I can assure you the courts are going to be indebted with so many of these cases to define what's reasonable notice given the nature of the matter at hand. It is so open-ended, it's likely to be abused. I don't know what else. I know you are better in these terms of reasonable time, but I don't know what else can you put it such that it makes it more certain. As it is so uncertain, it is going to water down the purpose and the intent of this bill. Thank you, Chair.
Very well. Member for Gachagua.
Honorable Chair, I support the amendment because reasonableness is a term that is usually used in law because you may not be able to categorize all the instances whereby public participation is to be undertaken. So it depends on the weight of the matter. And we may not be able to categorize that a constitutional amendment will require this period of time, a statutory amendment will require a referendum or many other things that we may have to participate. And it's not only in the lawmaking. This is a law that will require public participation on where a decision has to be made by the authorities. So I think we retain the reasonableness, which the court knows how to assess based on the law.
Very well, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair and Honorable Gishimo. Exactly that is what reasonableness means. We would have put a timeline, but the timeline may not be effective because in some cases, we may have a provision that public participation has to be done within a year. Then if we put 30 days, that becomes unreasonable. In other cases, public participation may have to be done within 7 days. If we put 14 days, then again that becomes unreasonable. So the best thing to do is to leave it to the discretion of an arbiter like a judge. When the matter is taken before him, he will consider whether the timelines given were reasonable or not reasonable. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Allow me then to put the question that clause 8 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 8 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 9, 10, and 11.
I propose the question that clauses 9, 10, and 11 be part of the bill. These have no amendments. I now put the question that clause 9, 10, and 11 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 12.
I propose the question that clause 12 be part of the bill. Chairperson Jailak.
Thank you very much. Allow me kindly to move that clause 12 be amended as shown on the order paper. This is where we propose to introduce subclause 2, which will read as follows. A responsible authority shall, as soon as is practicable after the conclusion of a public participation exercise, prepare a report. The justification is that we require the responsible authority to report on the outcome of the public participation exercise, which is actually the practice today, whether by parliament, whether by the courts, whether by even the chiefs in their local jurisdictions. They have to prepare a report after public participation so that everybody knows what the outcome is. I beg to move.
Very well. I therefore propose the question that clause 12 be amended as proposed by the chair. I now put the question that clause 12 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 12 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 13.
I propose the question that clause 13 be part of the bill. This has no amendment. I put the question that clause 13 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 14.
I propose the question that clause 14 be part of the bill. Mover.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I beg to move that clause 14 be amended as shown on the order paper with a slight amendment which would read, or which is an addition, with the following words, and may include simplified versions of the documents where appropriate. The entire clause now will read, a responsible authority shall facilitate the public with prior access to the documents relating to the matter under consideration in a public participation exercise, and may include simplified versions of the documents where appropriate. The rationale is to provide for prior dissemination of information and simplified versions of the information to promote meaningful and effective public participation. Exactly that. I beg to move.
Very well. I propose the question that clause 14 be amended as proposed by the chair. Ishimu.
Honorable Speaker, I support, actually this provision will prevent a situation whereby the participants in a public participation would be ambushed with information in which they are supposed to make contributions. I support.
Very well. I now put the question that clause 14 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 14 is amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 15.
I propose the question that clause 15 be part of the bill. Mover.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. I beg to move that clause 15 be amended as shown on the order paper, and we have explained the introductions to be made. The rationale is to ensure that we do regulate the conduct of responsible authorities during public hearings and require them to facilitate the enjoyment of the freedom of expression by participation. I beg to move.
I propose the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed by the chair. I now put the question that clause 15 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. I now put the question that clause 15 is amended, be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 16.
I propose the question that clause 16 be part of the bill. Has no amendment. I now put the question that clause 16 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 17.
I propose the question that clause 17 be part of the bill. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move that clause 17 be amended as shown on the order paper, where we are introducing two subsections shown on the order paper. The justification is that we have to redraft the proviso that allows houses of parliament and county assemblies to incorporate specific guidelines on public participation and in their standing orders for purposes of clarity, so that when it comes to public participation for the National Assembly or the Senate, we go to our standing orders, and the same for the county assemblies. I beg to move.
I therefore propose the question that clause 17 be amended as proposed by the chair. I now put the question that clause 17 be amended as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Good to note here before I put the global question that the leader of majority had a similar amendment which falls automatically. I therefore put the question that clause 17 as amended be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clauses 18 and 19.
I propose the question that clauses 18 and 19 be part of the bill. These have no amendments. I now put the question that clauses 18 and 19 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Clause 20.
I propose the question that clause 20 be part of the bill. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I beg to move that clause 20 be amended as shown on the order paper. And this is a deletion. What we are doing essentially is to remove the criminal liability with respect to the conduct of public participation from individual persons. Public participation is actually meant for institutions across the country, unless where the person is doing it personally, and therefore we cannot attach any criminal liability on any one person. It should be the responsibility of the institution, and where that does not happen, we have provided new sanctions.
Very well. I therefore propose the question that clause 20 be deleted as proposed by the chair. Funyula.
Chair, the chair of the committee is being clever as he is. Normally he's a good man. But honestly speaking, Chair, those offices are held by human beings. They are held by persons. They are not just institutions, so to speak. They are persons who move them and get them working. Removing criminal liability is essentially to tell that person that you're giving them a free license to break the law and break the constitution. It's not tidy. It's not tidy. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Very well. Ishimo.
Honorable Chair, in a previous provision clause, we said that we limit the public participation to the institution, not to any officer of an institution, so that in case of any problem, that the institution will be answerable depending on the matter that is at hand. So, Honorable Speaker, when we lay criminal liability against an individual, then it beats the entire purpose of laying or having the institution responsible. So I believe let's remove it as proposed by the chair, then the institution will be answerable depending on the person who is mandated, because we don't know exactly within that institution who will be mandated to do that public participation or to conduct it.
Mutunga?
Chair, and institutional practice and management, there is always a proviso for the governance organ which makes certain decisions that decide on who to bear the liability. So giving the institution that mandate is better for us. We are better placed than placing the responsibility to the individual running the institution at that particular point in time.
Very well. Allow me, members, to put the question that clause 20 be deleted as proposed by the chair. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. It's important to note that the leader of majority's amendment, proposed amendment, falls automatically on this.
Clause 21.
I propose the question that clause 21 be part of the bill. No amendment. I now put the question that clause 21 be part of the bill. Will as many as are of that opinion say aye? Will as many as are of a contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
New clauses. New clause 20A.
Mover, move second reading.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I beg to move the second reading of the new clause 20A, which is an introduction to cure what Honorable Oundo was worried about. It is new 20A, which reads as follows. The High Court may void a public participation exercise conducted in willful violation of the provisions of this Act. And I also beg to move a slight amendment to the new clause 20A to add the following words after this Act: after considering representations from a responsible authority. This means a person wishing to void any public participation exercise will be free to go to court, but will not get an ex parte order. And if the ex parte order is given, it is not final order, because the court will be under an obligation to hear representations from the responsible authority regarding exactly what took place. And the rationale is to provide that any public participation exercise conducted in willful violation of the provisions of this bill may be voided by the High Court after hearing representation from the responsible authority. And here we have used the word void. May be voided. It means it is not void ab initio until somebody goes to court for voiding, purely because there are instances that may arise when public participation may be necessary, but actually it cannot be conducted. For example, in the cases of emergencies, or in the cases of tragedies, or in the cases of plagues that may be there for the country. Thank you. I beg to move.
Very well. Allow me to propose the question. I propose the question that the new clause 20A be now read a second time. Geshimo?
Thank you, Chair. I support that amendment as moved by the Chair. And just akin to the voiding of public participation by the court is also what we do as the Committee of Delegated Registration. We do not criminalize the person who did not do proper public participation, but we move to annul before the House if the proper procedures for public participation were not followed. So I think that amendment is quite good, and actually it addresses the issue and the concern that had been raised by Honorable Oundo.
Honorable Oundo, is member for Gachagua speaking for you?
No, he doesn't speak for me. Doesn't speak for me. He speaks